Hey everyone, and welcome to the Game Deflators Podcast, episode 43. My name's John, and here's Ryan with a quip about our game from this week.
Hey everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and tonight we're going to leave it all out on the ice with the Inflation-Deflation Challenge.
I'll have you know, I left it all on the ice. You just lost.
Yeah.
That's really what
I
it
left my
amounted to.
dignity, I left it all on the ice, John.
The only thing you won was a fight, and I beat you in a fight too, so that just kind of nulled it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, it seems like on a weekly basis here, you don't have pickups. I'm disappointed.
No, I know, but I am finally going to get the... I've been waiting. I know I've been talking about it, but I've been waiting to do that whole Gamefly thing because Astral Chain comes out next week. So I figure I could probably beat... Well,
You could test it.
Well, no, I will play Astral Chain, but I think I'm definitely going to be done with Zone of the Enders by next week. But we'll get into that in a minute. What'd you pick up?
So, as all Americans this week, I picked up Collection of Mana on the Nintendo Switch. So I got a physical copy versus all that crappy digital stuff that's out there. And it looks pretty sweet, dude. I am kind of upset that I paid the extra. Say what you want about me, but you know, Amazon has it at $33 with free shipping. I picked it up at GameStop after everything. My pre-order came with like $43, so I paid an extra $10 for it. No big deal though. Got it in hand right away. Didn't have to worry about losing it to somebody stealing it at my door or anything along those lines.
Are you ever gonna play it right away?
Of course not. But that game's not going to go down like significantly. That's a title that should stay at that $35, $40 range. I mean, it's a Nintendo game. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. I don't pick up games like that on, say, a PlayStation 4 because it's generally going to, stay at the same price point. So, I don't know, man. We'll see if it stays, but I think it will. And one other thing I'm looking at, man. So, obviously, I picked up the Radical Dreamers cart that is on a Super Nintendo, and I'm still waiting for that to come in. I think as of yesterday it was in Los Angeles, so really quick shipping actually from this guy on Etsy. But I have really started looking at a lot of repro carts, and I'm finding a greater interest in it, so I'm actually potentially going to get a copy of Terra Enigma as well pretty soon. It's like $18 for a repro cart. Why not? And the quality looks pretty high end. I mean, I've made labels myself for Super Nintendo games and N64 and other titles as replacement labels for ones that are damaged. And I've seen some of the copies of Terra Enigma on eBay and Etsy and everywhere else, and it's a cheap price point under $20. I mean, why not? It's supposed to be a 10 out of 10 game all around. I think it might be worth giving it a shot. So I think that's going to be my next pickup. So
there you go.
Keep your ears out. And I see you have something on our outline here for a pickup. What did you buy or what did you do?
This week I did my first time ever going in and opening up a video game thing other than to put new batteries in. So that problem I had with my PS3 controller, I went ahead and fixed that. I opened it up, got everything out of there, put a couple little pieces of paper under that rubbery part that lost some of its rubbery sponginess, and it worked totally good. So I was able to go back in. I played some more Zone of the Enders. I'm about 3.5 hours in. It says it's only 5 hours to beat, so I'll definitely be done next time I sit down to play it for a little while. And
so with your controller though, so you literally put a piece of paper
I just cut two little tiny strips of paper, put them underneath this like maybe half-inch long by 1/4-inch wide piece of rubber that just sits there and holds a contact ribbon in place. So I just stuck that underneath there.
And it seriously worked?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Huh.
The guy said he suggested using sticker so that it wouldn't move around, but I mean, I think it'll be fine.
So that's because your buttons had like some crazy, like they were inputting things that you just weren't pressing?
You could squeeze just the body of the controller and it would just randomly input stuff.
I think I'm having that issue too. Like and it isn't my joystick. I think it's my D-pad. I'm having issues where it's like the D-pad's going up and down and selecting things automatically for me.
This was my D-pad and my what do you call the buttons? Just the button pad?
I guess.
Like face buttons.
I guess. It's
Yeah.
my square, X, triangle, and circle
Yeah,
buttons.
but I mean, even triggers and stuff, because they're all on this one little contact ribbon. So if there's some fluctuation in there, I mean, that's what generates the inputs, I guess. I don't know.
I really wonder if that's what's going on with my controller.
It took me like less than the whole video. So I'm going to shout out. This was on Global Garage. He made this video back in 2016. And I just searched for PS3 controller random inputs. It was like the first video that came up. Super helpful. It's like a 14-minute video. It took me about that long, including like going and getting my tools from the garage.
Nice. Okay. And then you said you're playing ZOE, obviously, still?
Yeah. And then since I beat Zone of the Enders Fist of Mars on my Game Boy...
Did we talk about that last week? About you actually completing it?
About me actually finishing it?
Yeah.
Did we?
I don't remember.
Well, I did it.
Okay. Well, that's 1 out of 3.
Yeah. It's super cool getting into the original Zone of the Enders after beating that one now, because I'm seeing all the similar stuff, because these are all 3 Konami games, and they're like associated with Kojima, and to see like kind of how the story and some of the pieces and the references and understanding who some of these entities are, like what is an LEV, what is an OF, you know, I know a lot more of the lingo having played the RPG that's twice as long as both the other games, you know. So I'm really liking it. It's really quick, snappy combat now that the controller's working good. I don't know. Not a whole lot to say until I finish it up, and I'll have more to say next week. But
Is it at least pretty decent?
Oh yeah. I'm having a great time. It brings back so many memories. I've played this a few times and only beaten it once when I was like a kid and I first got it.
Yeah.
But it still looks as cool. I really like all the designs. I like the controls are pretty good. I'm really excited now to get into the second one. And then I'm really excited to await Demon X Machina coming out. And I'll probably go back and play the demo for that again just to get back into it, because I really am liking the mecha genre. I'm going to stick with that a little bit. But on the other hand, I picked up a new Game Boy game to play. I'm playing, what is it? Golden Sun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You had mentioned that the other day.
Golden Sun. It's, I barely started it. Like, I'm still in the opening town. I just kind of am picking it up and playing it wherever I am. You know, if I'm waiting at the store in line or something, I'll just bust it out real quick. And it's a lot of fun. I played that game a ton when I was a kid, too. The completionist just did a video on it, which inspired me to go ahead and play it. And I'm just trying to make sure that I play it a little bit every day so that I don't forget about it and get totally lost. But it's definitely not going to be like my main game. I expect it's going to take me a while to get through.
Gotcha. And, you know, actually, speaking of Kojima, when you mentioned that, the first thing I thought about was urine mechanics in his new game.
Stranding. Yeah.
Oh, my God, dude. Apparently, you could pee and create mushrooms.
Well, and apparently something will happen if enough people get together and asynchronously pee in the same place.
I'm so excited for that game, man. I mean, it's just his mind is all over the place. It's going to be awesome. So as far as what I'm playing, I beat Donkey Kong Country 3 with my wife. We got 103%. So the Queen Banana Bird was rescued, and we went ahead and rescued all the banana birds. And, of course, beat King K. Rool under the... let's see. So we beat him in his submarine, the Nautilus, and we also... obviously beat his disguise of God, what's the name? Dr. Frankenrule or something? I don't remember, dude. Love the game. I just obviously enjoy it for the gameplay more than the story.
Yeah.
So after that, we really got in the mood to play like some Banjo-Kazooie, and I didn't want to play Banjo-Kazooie, but I remembered I had Ukulele on the PS4, so we booted that up. Dude, that is a phenomenal game. Mm-hmm. We have enjoyed every moment. I don't know why it's got like a 7 out of 10. I guess it's not poor reviews, but everybody I've talked to or mentioned it to that has played it is like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's a great game. And it's pretty much like Banjo-Kazooie part 2 in a sense. Like everybody says
Would
spiritual.
it be part 3? Isn't there already a Banjo-Tooie?
Let's not say part 2. Let's say version 2. So basically, instead of jiggies, you have pages. The music is pretty much exactly the same. You have to collect X amount of pages within a level with various tasks and such. Collect instead of, I think you had to collect 100 notes in Banjo-Kazooie. This one you collect 200 quills.
Yeah, it's another big collectathon.
Yeah, it's
adventure.
a collectathon, but it's very much I don't know, it's a great experience, man. I've enjoyed every moment of it so far. And we've already beat the first 2 worlds, completed them 100%, and we're currently working on World 3. She's probably working on it right now, actually. And yeah, I'm enjoying this. There's 5 levels, pretty quick game to beat, really liking it, and I'm super stoked for the second one that's coming out. And outside of that, I am still playing Suikoden 2. With Suikoden 2, I put in another, I'd say about 3-4 hours over the last week or so. Unlocked some new characters, got into some new parts of the game, fell asleep while in the middle of playing it the other day, so I ended up just turning it off so I didn't add on an extra 2 hours. And yeah, dude, story just as good as it's been the entire time. Character development sweet. I'm not a big fan of getting all 108 characters, but I'm still pushing through it. And I don't remember if I called it out, but there's supposed to be some squirrels I'm supposed to capture.
You mentioned that last week.
I finally got the squirrels.
Yeah.
So, which video was it? So there was one particular video I watched, because like there has to be a way to get these guys easier.
Well, where they get it right at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, so here's what I ended up finding out. There's 4 or 5 squirrels within this part of the world, right? There's one that you're supposed to get, and then the rest you can or can't, doesn't matter. It's not important, and there's nothing to the game that like I brought it up to you, where if you don't actually collect all 108, you have a different, storyline versus if you had the 106, right? So there's different ending. And there's only 1 out of the 5 squirrels necessary to be able to, move forward and get that, that going down. Like the 5 squirrels don't count towards 108, only 1 of them counts towards it. And so the video that I went ahead and watched, it pretty much said, go to a town, run really quick to this particular part of the level or the world map, and it'll be there. Like, wait a second, and the next battle, he's up. And it basically said that if you went to each individual town and then went directly to that location, you reset where the squirrels move. So the idea is that they're invisibly moving across the whole world, and it's by chance that you get them. But if you quickly run from one particular part of a level or world into that one section where the squirrel's supposed to be waiting, you'll get them every single time. And dude, I watched countless videos, read countless FAQs, like everything I could to get this done. And this one guy like solved everything. It was amazing. So
it's always the last place you look.
Kudos to whoever that was. I don't remember the video I watched, but I wish I could call it out. But whoever it is, amazing video, and I am so happy. Enough about me ranting about Suikoden 2, though. We got some articles to read.
So in the news today, we've got Telltale Games coming back, sort of. So Telltale got purchased by LCG Entertainment. Now, what that means for the company is that all of their assets that they have, including the Warner Bros. They're still holding on to and their original IPs, those are now owned by a new company that can do whatever they want with them. They can make new games. They can become Telltale 2.0, or who knows what's really going to happen with those. But what we do know is that it doesn't mean that the studio's back and everybody who got laid off last year has their jobs and they're making, more Walking Dead or anything like that. None of that's going on.
Well, and for anybody listening too, so LCG Entertainment is really a holdings company. So I don't necessarily, I don't know enough about it to say, hey, they got a studio and a bunch of stuff going on.
I've never heard of them before.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them before either. So I don't think it's a situation where you have like an EA purchasing Telltale or whatever it may be. And didn't they come from EA?
Who?
Telltale. Who were they under before?
I don't know.
We should probably get this information in advance. So either way, it's not like another studio came out and said, we're going to buy Telltale, all of their assets, and we're just going to continue on bringing in their old developers and programmers and everything else and continue on with different series. This is not that case. what I can see potentially occurring is this LCG Entertainment's company bringing in a bunch of freelance people to try and maybe make some games. Who knows at this point? But for those interested, no, Walking Dead is not coming back from Telltale, as far as we know, unless Skybound decides to push it out to a different developer. Marvel retains the rights of any games Telltale-wise that they were creating. And what was the other one again?
It was Minecraft.
Minecraft goes to Microsoft. The only ones that we know, big IP-wise, are Wolf
Bros,
Among
they
Us.
Still have the licensing with that.
Yeah, so Wolf Among Us and, God, man, I probably should have remembered this offhand. What was the other one? Ryan, help me out. Oh, Batman. It was the Telltale Batman series.
Oh, yeah, that's the Warner Bros.
Yeah.
Puzzle Agent was the other one.
Puzzle Agent.
Yeah.
I love Puzzle Agent. It brings me back to old times when I didn't play Puzzle Agent.
I've never heard of it either.
Don't shake your head. Okay, so anything else that we want to note on Telltales? I mean,
no, it was big news last year about what happened to Telltale, and I think everybody got burned out on it. And I don't think just because they got picked up by a new company means that, like we said, we're not going to get more old Telltale games. And I don't think anybody wants that. Hopefully they can do something new and come out with a new gimmick that we can ride for a little while, or do something more interesting with the IPs that they picked up.
I mean, I've been playing Yooka-Laylee, and if you kind of look at what happened there, you had old developers and folks from Rare from that team that went out and created a whole new game.
People wanted that. Nobody wants another Telltale game in the Telltale style.
Do they potentially want an original IP cel-shaded game that looks... Yeah, there's lightning behind me and thunder. I don't know if that'll come out on the podcast, but we'll find out. So maybe there's a new IP. Not that I would ever play it, but maybe they create a new IP.
That style. I think that Telltale was so tied to the style. I think this was just an asset grab. I think that whoever, LCG Entertainment, whatever their plans are, I think that they could do better original works with this IP by acquiring Telltale than trying to reinvigorate the Telltale formula, because for me it's just one of those games and studios that's so synonymous. Like, I know From Software has done more than Dark Souls, but to me and to my exposure, From Software is just the Soulsborne series.
Not
and
the Armored,
Sekiro now.
And Armored Core?
I never played Armored Core.
Oh, dude, there's tons of Armored Core games.
Yeah, I know there is, but I've never played any of them.
Yeah, they have. Oh, that other game that we played, the one of the two characters and you run side by side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did that one too.
Yeah.
They got some really weird IPs in there.
But I'm just saying it's one of those things. I don't think Telltale, they would have to make Telltale their studio and develop something really new and really different to make me think anything but what I already think about them. And I don't really think that they need to come back, but we'll see what happens.
If there's enough demand, which would absolutely shock me. I've told you before, I am definitely not a fan of the cel-shaded games. It's like watching cel-shaded anime. It's just stupid. I'm not a fan of it. That's the key reason that I don't want to play any Borderlands. Anybody out there can stop listening now. I hate Borderlands.
Can I stop listening to you?
Yeah, you might want to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, then in other news, we've got Fortnite, but really it's an article about Epic. This was in the New York Times by Jason Bailey. So everybody knows about the Epic Store and their competition with Steam. This is just...
There's no competition there.
Well, it's more talk about that, and people are getting, information from a really mainstream source if they're, logging into New York Times and reading this. So I think that this is good for more people to become aware of what's going on in the video game industry. But to anybody who's been paying attention to Epic and the Steam store, this is just, for me, it's just telling it to a new audience that maybe doesn't normally get exposure to this, because I've already heard a lot of this before.
Well, so I guess to give a little background on this, you have Steam, you can purchase your games in there. Everybody knows what the heck it is, right? Epic is pretty much, they have their own Epic Game Store. And when I was reading this article, one of the interesting things that came out to me were, well, two of the interesting things were, Steam has a library of well over 30,000 games. Epic is sitting at like less than 100 titles within their overall library. Like, it's night and day what they're doing, but what they are doing right now to try and build up additional revenue outside of Fortnite is they're making offerings of, if you bring your game exclusively to our store, we're going to go ahead and only take 12% of the generated revenue versus Steam.
They also guarantee sales to cover your costs. So you don't have to hope that you get on Steam and hope that a bunch of asset flip games don't knock you off the front page before you make your money back in that first week.
Yeah, so there's a lot of incentive really for a lot of these developers to go through. Yeah, and in the long run, like, this is great for us as consumers. I mean, we're not stuck with the whole Steam route. Now, what kind of sucks is if you have a bunch of exclusives on Epic and then you got a bunch of exclusives on Steam, but at the same time, like, it'd be like entering a different website.
Yeah,
at that point, like, it's just portals.
It's just a new launcher. Epic Store has a lot of work that they need to do. They have a roadmap laid out, and I'm sure that it'll become a much better platform as time goes on, and it'll eventually rival Steam. And we'll see what happens in a year or two down the road once this is going on. But in the meantime, people are still upset. Every couple of weeks we hear about a new game that's going Epic Store exclusive, and then there's some big blowback on that. And there was this one developer who tried to get ahead of it a few weeks ago, and even trying to communicate with their own audience. They were met with a bunch of people pushing back because people don't like the idea of the Epic Store because they don't want to deal with it. I'm not a PC gamer, so it doesn't really affect me at all. I'm happy to see somebody giving Steam a run for their money, and I hope that it means better for everybody. But as of right now, I think that the Epic's tactics of being so aggressive, and we're going to go into this a little bit in the next article too, but they're going to be pulling Rocket League from Steam, not support for people who already have it, but it's not going to be available to download there anymore. They're definitely pushing their weight around and writing big checks, and I don't think it's all bad, but it should be met with some skepticism.
Well, dude, I mean, if you really think of it from the perspective of what was Nintendo without, Sega, and what is Sony without Microsoft? I mean,
that's what he says in the article. Yeah. The competition is good, and they are doing a better job than Steam is doing.
Yeah, so I mean, it really just, and here's the thing, if Epic continues to grow and continues to show progress and really there's a positive outcome on this, it can only be better for those that enjoy Steam. Steam's going to up their game. They're going to give, hopefully
eventually
developers...
they'll have to. As of right now, they're not, because it's really still kind of not as important to them for whatever reason, because they're still on top. Even with all of this, they're still the number one.
Well, yeah, and then we even in this article, it's cited that a lot of the developers are saying 75% of their overall revenue from PC games is coming from Steam. So, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, but this is more of a, little player kind of turned big player and really trying to give Steam a run for their money, or Valve, really. So we'll see. It's interesting, how this is shaping out right now, and I definitely want to see how this plays out towards the end of the year, for sure.
So in other Epic news, we have Rocket League, and they are dropping their loot box mechanics, and it seems like they're going to trade up for just microtransactions.
It's not loot boxes, it's surprise mechanics. You got to get it right.
That's EA. EA has surprise mechanics.
It's all surprise mechanics.
So this article goes into an area that I haven't heard talked about, which is like a black market trading for rare and expensive items. Now, it's black market trading because these items, no matter how many loot boxes you buy, they're not supposed to have any actual monetary value, because otherwise it would be gambling. So people are illegally trading items for false actual prices.
Dude, it says in the hundreds of dollars for some of these items.
Yeah, certain things.
Skins.
I've heard of mounts for World of Warcraft that could be really expensive. I've heard of, other online game assets that are, rare microtransactions could be worth a lot of money. I know that this kind of stuff goes on, and you don't hear about the black market side of it too often, at least I don't, but it's mostly because I don't participate in any of those kind of games anyways, because I don't buy loot boxes. But it's one of those things where I think that it's going to be good to get away from loot boxes, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But if they're just going to start throwing out, like I think they said, the average like for a price of wheels could be like $20.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to charge people $20
No.
for wheels.
They're saying that the average price online.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If they get rid of the loot boxes and you can just go in and buy what you want, it's not in their best interest to charge $1 for everything. And if the going rate online is $20, they've seen what the market is willing to bear, and I think that having a game like this and telling people, okay, no more loot boxes, but we want $10 for this cosmetic thing. And I think that it's better that it's transparent and you're getting what you're paying for, but I just don't agree in having to pay money for all that stuff. I mean, there was a big blowback recently with Crash Team Racing, the Nitro Fuel remake they did.
Yeah.
It was had a great system for getting skins and all that stuff, and it launched with no microtransactions or loot boxes or premium currency, and then they just said, oh, well, now that it's out, we're going to just, casually put all that in and ruin the whole system that we made that was actually good enough to get through reviews without having that be mentioned. It was good enough to be, printed on all the labels and sent out without any warning so that they could just edit it in later like snakes.
This is actually the first I've heard of, people not wanting to get rid of loot boxes. But if you kind of think of a reason why, it's more of a selfish reason. You have individuals that are clearly making enough money, but they can afford to purchase random or really gamble on random digital assets within a video game and then sell it third party through, I think they had mentioned like Reddit and other forums that they're actively using to sell this stuff. It's really interesting that like I don't think it went too deep into like how they do it. How do you transfer that skin from one player to another?
I'm sure it's just there's probably some in-game selling of your account or something.
Or trading system probably along those lines, and it's, hey, we're going to trade some money right now via PayPal or something, and I'll go ahead and send the item over. I mean, I can see it. I guess it'd be very similar to if you were selling a World of Warcraft account or selling mounts for like, extra cash or coins. Not entirely sure, but it's definitely the first time I've heard of people arguing to keep loot boxes. And it really brings up that video that you showed me earlier.
Yeah, Jim Sterling's new video on the new NBA 2K.
Yeah, the 2K20, and like the whole thing is just straight up gambling.
Yeah, it looks like a Vegas casino ad more than it looks like a basketball game ad.
And the excitement that everybody has, like that's also the first time I've ever seen people excited for surprise mechanics / loot boxes and gambling. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, we'll see how this plays out in the long run for loot boxes. I think they're going away in general. We've already talked about Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft all kind of coming together that they're going to discuss the odds moving forward, basically lottery tickets for video games. And, we have major developers, game developers in general, just saying we're going to get rid of loot boxes. So
yeah, hopefully it's just a few years out from us never having to hear about loot boxes again.
Well, if there's any push legislation-wise, at least in our country, I don't know about overseas. I think we had talked about this before where...
Yeah, there is a couple countries that have made legislation against these.
Yeah, so I think if we get some major legislation passed here to get rid of loot boxes, there'll probably be another big thing.
There's always another thing.
More season passes and all. I really miss the days where I could just load up my Lion King or Aladdin and just play it through with no issues.
Well, John, you might be able to do that again. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe?
Apparently, there's some HD remake possibilities for Lion King and Aladdin. I guess new movies, getting a fresh coat of paint for a franchise means that we should trudge out all these old games that already still look great, but make them HD and available on whatever platform you want. And I think that if they're going to do that, they should probably go back and touch up some stuff. I know that that Lion King game can be pretty brutal at certain points, and the Aladdin game is not a super pushover either. But both are, well remembered and very good looking games from their age. And I think seeing them with a fresh little revival would be kind of fun.
Well, and one of the really cool things about it though is they're not necessarily just releasing like the Nintendo version of Lion King or Aladdin. They're actually giving you both within the game itself. So you're getting the Genesis version, which a lot of people like, and then you've got the Super Nintendo version, which a lot more people like. Mm-hmm. And so it'll be pretty cool to see those out on next gen consoles and how it reacts with the overall new controllers. So anybody out there that did not know about that, GameStop has pre-orders opening up soon. So, dude, this rain is crazy.
It is coming down outside, something fierce.
I have a feeling our whole podcast episode is going to be like coated with thunder and stuff in the back.
Well, I've got one last bit of news before we get on tonight's Inflation Deflation Challenge. So for anybody who is watching along with me, cheering on OG as they go on to become the defending back-to-back TI Dota champions of the world. They did such a good job. It was such a great series. I loved every minute of it this year that I got to watch. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch very much of it live because it was in China, but I think that they really deserved it. They really showed some good play out there, and it was just a really fun set of matches. It was a really good time. And I can't wait for more Dota. I'm already anxious, but I think I got to wait till like November for the next big tournament.
I can't believe you didn't invite me to your Dota Super Bowl watch.
Well, I didn't end up having one because it was like I missed the VOD and I just kind of wound up watching it by myself.
It was Sunday, right?
No, I watched it Monday after work.
But it was on Sunday that it was occurring?
Yeah, it would have been at like 2 a.m. or something.
So you made me drive you back and forth around town and then did not invite me to watch Dota with you.
I just watched it Monday night by myself.
You could have invited me.
I know.
That's so disappointing.
I felt bad about you driving already anyways.
Yeah, now you can feel worse.
Well, anyways, thanks, John, for being a friend, and thanks, OG, for
can't tell the sarcasm.
Showing everybody how to do some Dota and winning. I've been OG since last year, and I'm glad they did it. So next year, we'll see. Maybe they could go 3 in a row. Who knows?
That would be pretty cool, actually.
Set up the legacy.
Or dynasty, not legacy, sir.
Yeah, at this point.
Dota dynasty. So, our inflation deflation. This week, we played one of my all-time favorite games since I was a kid, and it did not live up to the hype for me in terms of the experience I had as a child. I'm talking about Wayne Gretzky and the NHLPA All-Stars on the Super Nintendo. So Ryan, as you know, my copy that I have is my original Blockbuster copy. Has a little silver tags that says that I'll be charged full price if I open them up and get into the actual card itself. We should probably test it and see if Blockbuster knocks on the door.
I mean, I'm sure there's some up in Alaska we could still talk to.
I think there's one.
Yeah, I think there's still 1 or 2 up there.
I should open it and bring it back and see what they say. We'll have to go up to Alaska.
You get in big trouble.
Yeah, either way. So this game is a Time Warner Interactive for the Genesis and a Sculpted Software on the Super Nintendo.
So that's who developed it, but although Time Warner published the game.
Yeah, in general. So that's interesting that they published it.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah,
before.
So I'm surprised you had Sculpted Software on there. But I guess they were part of it on the Super Nintendo, which, makes sense.
Well, and that's the thing. So this game released back in December of '95, and it had fairly good reviews, but mostly for the Genesis version. People said that they didn't have very good things to say on what I read on Wikipedia. It was IGN, and they weren't very happy with the Wayne Gretzky They didn't think
Well,
that...
clearly Nintendo didn't pay them enough money.
Well, they didn't think that it controlled very well, and they thought that the sprites looked really good, but they just kind of seemed like they were floating on the ice, not really skating on the ice. I don't know. I thought the game was a little bit challenging to get the hang of the controls at first, but by the end of the second game, I felt like I was way more in control of my characters, and I could see if I was a kid and I was going to spend all day playing this with my friends, I could see getting really competitive and good at this game.
Well, and that's really how I was as a kid. And there's actually a whole tournament mode on there that we didn't go through. But it has like a full-blown tournament where all of the teams are stacked in like a bracket, and you can go through. As far as I remember, I didn't get a chance to look at that tonight. But, dude, I played this game a lot as a kid. And seeing as where I used to live, I have my team that's still on there, so I played them against you tonight, and definitely kicked your ass.
Yeah, yep. I got 2-0'd pretty hard. So this game, let's get down to it here. So Wayne Gretzky and the NHLPA All-Stars for Super Nintendo. This is going loose 478. And that's down from 575 peaking in May of this year, and it's still trending down just slightly.
Stonks are down. Pick up now.
Now, if you're looking for a complete in-box copy, you might as well. It's going $8.40. It peaked at $20, and that was a flat $20 peak from July to December of 2015. And I think it's because this game doesn't really trade very much. You've got... This is loose 2 sales a month and complete 5 sales per year. So there's definitely some being moved, but not any kind of real volume. I'm guessing there's just not a lot of demand for this kind of game. Sports games, I would imagine, don't have a high collectability for people. I mean, they're usually bargain games.
Well, it really depends on what you're looking at. So some sports games on the Super Nintendo and I guess Nintendo or uses donor cards for repros.
Mm-hmm.
So, or, like new games that people make. So really, those are the only sports games I ever see to go for a decent amount. And that's only because they're used as repros.
Yeah.
Other sports games, yeah, you're right, man. They're always like $1, $2, depending on where you go. This game, I'm actually even surprised that it's sitting at $4.78. I love the game, but, $4.78 in my mind for a sports game on a Super Nintendo is still kind of high.
Now, as a collector, do you like getting boxes for Super Nintendo games, or does it just kind of add too much bulk? Like, if you're gonna get a game like this, it's a sports game, so it's already really not that value to you. Like, you're not... I mean, this one's different because you actually played this one, liked it. But if you had the chance to pick up a game for these prices, do you think that extra few bucks just for the nicer presentation, if it's a good box, makes it worth being more collectible than just another loose hockey game?
Well, I'm not really a box collector per se. I mean, I do have some complete in box titles like up there. I've got like Castlevania and Zelda and Batman and a couple others, but I try to... It's kind of weird, like cart-based games like Nintendo and Super Nintendo, outside of Genesis, I don't pick up the boxes because they fall apart so easily, and they're just harder to find like in great condition. You're paying a heavy premium for that versus a Genesis. It's a clamshell and a slipcover inside. I would much rather pick up a complete in box Genesis version of this than I would Super Nintendo.
So it's just the delicate nature and the likelihood that you're not really going to get that extra value out of buying it.
Well, I mean, I'm not really necessarily looking at value all the time. So, yeah, there's some value in picking up complete in box copies of disc-based games and Genesis title, and really any game complete in box is going to be of higher value. But for me, on a collecting standpoint, I don't like to collect boxes for SNES and Nintendo. There's a lot of people that do. It's just not my thing. To your point, it's bulky, and I would much rather collect complete in box Genesis. I think they present a hell of a lot better than box Nintendo. And you got to also consider, man, you have Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and N64, which I collect games for all 3 of those consoles, at least my favorite games. And it's just way too many boxes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you're looking to get this game, you can actually get it pretty cheap. You could get it for $1.57. That's the PAL Sega Mega Drive version. And if you're real pricey like John, you can get that complete in box for the Genesis around $9.50. So, John, you're going to say $4.78. You're saying this is inflated. For under $5, this is inflated.
yeah, I mean, it really depends on what you're looking to do. Are there better sports games out there? I'm sure. This one, and it's kind of surprising I'd say this is inflated too, because that's literally my copy from my first Super Nintendo as a kid. So that's been sitting around for...
And you would have paid $5 to rent it for a week back in the day.
Well, yeah, and I kept it. So obviously I paid more than $5. I probably paid around the $40, $50 range at that point in time. So... yeah, I would say...
But older and wiser and more frugal John says no.
Older and wiser frugal John says paying $4.78 is just too high. I would say $3.
$3?
I would say $3. If you can find it for $3, pick it up.
I think that...
if you like hockey.
Yeah, I think that it was a fun game. I would definitely play this game again. I'm the one who suggested it just because I wanted to see... I just don't have a lot of memories of playing these kind of games, so I really wanted to get out and try something. And I think that I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm gonna say John knows better than me at this point, so I'd be willing to say that John's right on this one. $5. Well, it doesn't seem like a lot. I don't know that you're going to get a whole lot of value. Maybe if you're a big hockey person.
Well, the game is, I mean, it's aged really well. I really do like the controls in this game. I clearly kicked your ass nice and clean in this one. But at the end of the day, when you are playing with Denver and Hartford and all these other teams that it's like teams that aren't even in the league anymore are on there, it's just not the same, man. Like, if I want to play as, you know, the Florida Panthers, it's listed as Florida. Or if I want to play as the Colorado Avalanche, there's no Colorado Avalanche right there. It's Denver.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
definitely
aged.
a time and a place.
Yeah, and, you know, it does say NHLPA, so I think that's, that might not be National Hockey League Players Association. It might be something else, which is why you have, like, some of the national teams on there. But, yeah, I mean, it's a cool game. It's fun. I would definitely play it some more. And but it's not one that I can honestly say that I would sit back and play the hell out of it right now, go through the full tournament, and just like say, yeah, I just beat this sports game. Like, that's what I did as a kid. Like, I enjoyed it, but older, wiser John is not going to sit there and play hours upon hours of, you know, hockey, Wayne Gretzky hockey on a Super Nintendo or Genesis. So, $3 each of us.
Yep.
We're calling this game
inflated.
Yep. What do we got next week, sir?
So next week we're gonna go take a walk on the wild side, and we're gonna go Streets of Rage. And you know, it seems like we keep gravitating back towards these brawlers, but it's fun to do some multiplayer stuff, you know, where we get to be on a team instead of being adversaries. And we still let our fists do the talking, though.
Dude, I love Streets of Rage a lot, which is why that was my suggestion this week.
I haven't really played it very much.
Well, you got last week's suggestion, so I had to pull one up, and I think you'll like this one.
Yes,
I forget.
I've heard a lot about it.
I forget what the price point is on this one.
Well, we'll talk about that more next week, John.
We will?
Yeah, so that's going to do it for episode 43 of the Game Deflators Podcast. I'm Ryan.
And I am John. We reversed that this week.
Yeah, we did.
And we are the Game Deflators.